it to you, baby. The New Orleans Saints are for real. Look, if you doubt it, I understand. It's okay to have a little bit of doubt in your life. But after watching the New Orleans Saints walk into Arlington like their name was Jerry Jones on the back of the jersey because they own the place, winning 44-19, I don't want to hear, but the Panthers. And see, this is why. I'm going to pat my back 400 times. Y'all better light the bonfires because I want all the smoke. The beacons of New Orleans are lit. I told y'all in the film studies, it's not just the Panthers. This offense is different. This offense is different. This offense actually might be familiar. Why? Name the last Saints offense scoring 91 points in the first 2 games. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not used to that? How about this wonderful stat? Alvin Kamara had 4 touchdowns today, and he has 5 touchdowns to start the 2024 season. In 2022, under Pete Carmichael, playing 15 games, he had 4 total touchdowns. I'd say there's a slight difference. And if we want to talk about adding in Derek Carr, because yes, better quarterback, last year he had 6 touchdowns, and now he has 5 in 2 games. I'd say the New Orleans Saints are a little bit different. I say the New Orleans Saints are for real, and I would say who dat to everybody in the chat today. Welcome in. Appreciate you being here. Hope you're having a great time. You should be. You should have an amazing time. Feel free to pat yourself on the back if you said it back in September, October of last year. The New Orleans Saints should acquire Clint Kubiak. I did, and I'm going to brag about it. Call me a narcissist. Don't really care. Saints won, so suck it. All right, let's do what we normally do. If you're not familiar with how we typically do the post-game podcast, we're going to go quarter by quarter, tell you what happened, tell you how it happened, and then we're going to get into your thoughts, your discussion, and go through it step by step, because at the end of the day, this is the show that is for y'all. This is a Saints fan podcast. This is for the Whodats out there. So we're going to start with quarter 1, which obviously started off very strong for New Orleans. There's not really any negative to say. You got to see the big explosive plays, and you saw the West Coast offense do what it was always designed to do and do exactly what you were used to seeing with Sean Payton. And no, I am not trying to definitely not trying to do that. Not trying to crown Clint Kubiak after 2 games. But both him and Sean Payton are West Coast style systems, and those systems have a specific thing they want to do. We talk about it all the time. Those 10, 15 plays to start the game are designed certain ways for a reason, and we saw that in quarter 1. Rashid Shaheed started off with a rush and 2 short passes before the second drive saw them go over the top in the Yankee concept to Rashid Shaheed. The first 2 drives were designed to set up each other while also being designed to score at the same time. Derek Carr went 4 for 4 with 135 yards and a tutty. Alvin Kamara had a couple of rushes. You had that Rashid Shaheed a rush for 7 yards, and you didn't see the offense a ton that first, but you did see them impacting a lot in that first. And then Demario Davis came out with 4 tackles. And arguably, this was one of Demario Davis's best games in, maybe it was his best game in 2 years. And that's a guy who was a second-team All-Pro last year. Like, that's no shade at Demario Davis. That's, holy heck, he had a great game today. He needed to step up with, arguably, in my opinion, their best when healthy defensive player gone in Lattimore. And hey, if we want to debate who's better, Demario Davis, Lattimore, etc., that's a good debate to have because that means you got really, really good players. Demario Davis stepped up in that first. You saw it. One other thing I want to note in the first quarter notes before we move on, and I promise we'll get to y'all's comments after we get to the notes, is New Orleans started off perfect in the red zone. That's going to be a theme we handle for the rest of this stream, and also 19 yards per play. That is nuts. Moving on to the second quarter in the first half. We're going to do the first half as a whole. You saw more consistent success. Alvin Kamara really taking off for the run game. Has 2 touchdowns in the quarter. In fact, on the screen, I'll put up your possessions because one thing about this game, wow, they didn't turn it off until they felt like it. Starting the game, 6 drives in a row, 6 tutties. But as far as Alvin Kamara goes, looking fantastic. Better time possession in the second quarter because it was less reliant on big plays. They definitely slowed the pace down a little bit, focusing more on the run game. They finished the first half with 15 carries, 88 yards. It's a 6 yards per carry average, and they had thrown the ball 11 times. Defensively, you saw more success. You actually saw Carl Granderson's first sack of the day and of the season, and you saw both Volante Taylor and Demario Davis had combined for 8 tackles through the first quarter and first half, so success in that regard as well. But red zone, 3 for 3 in the first half. Again, that's a theme that I really, really want to highlight. Moving on to the third quarter. Derek Carr has gone 3 quarters, 11 for 13, no interceptions, 243 yards. He was essentially perfect. Through 3 quarters, he had a 158.3 QB rating. Alvin Kamara had 87 yards, picked up his third TD, and the New Orleans rushing attack had 25 carries for 137 yards through 3 quarters. Obviously dominant with both Olave and Rashid Shaheed looking good. Brzee pulled up a beautiful sack fumble. Still waiting to him get more consistent in his closing, but still great play to be had. And another one, defense, great, but offense, oh my goodness. The offense, again, perfect in the red zone. Then finally, we can use the stats on the screen to finish this up. Look, offense finished 5 for 8, 63% on third down. You'll take it. 4 for 5 in the red zone. I'll take it. And honestly, let's be real. They could have pressed the pedal more in the second half. They chose not to. And all the negatives about this game came in the second half when they didn't really need to. Derek Carr started to push a little bit. I don't know why. He just did. He threw an interception he shouldn't have because he overthrew Chris Olave too far in front, too high, because of an INT. Does that diminish him having a near perfect game? No. But it does muddy up his stat sheet a little bit, which stinks. But other than that, I mean, this is a team that finished with 7.7 yards per play on offense, 432 total yards, and that's with them taking the foot completely off the gas. Like, this team dominated. Offensively, Alvin Kamara finishes with 180 yards from scrimmage and 4 TDs. It's the Alvin Kamara of old. If you thought that he was washed, if you thought that he was done, thought he was barbecue chicken, you were wrong. Rashid Shaheed finishing 4 receptions, 96 yards. Olave picking up 4 as well for 81. That fantastic goal line reception, I wish had fallen into the end zone just because he deserved to get that tutty. And honestly, Derek Carr deserved to get the tutty as well. But still, they ended up, working it out, and it was fine. But overall, see Carr finish 68.8%. And look, I've said this before. If Carr gives you 200, 250 yards, 2 TDs, and throws efficiently, you're probably going to win football games. And you managed to score 44 points, and you didn't have to be Drew Brees. You didn't have to go out of your way to be incredible as a quarterback position because the offense was so fundamentally good. Jamal Williams finishing with 5 yards a carry. Kamara, 5.8. And let's move on to the defense where we see Chase Young finally getting his half sack. Love to see that. Carl Granderson ending up 1.5. But look at things like the tackles for loss with Alontae Taylor, who played really well attacking the line when it came to the flats. Does a really good job in the slot here in his second year. You can definitely see that's improved. Paulson Debo, 2 key pass deflections as well as picking up an interception on a fall down by the receiver, but still he's in perfect position. Obviously, Honey Badger picks up 1 as well. They force turnovers, they force sacks, they close the game out, and it's wild because we talked about the New Orleans Saints defense, like, well, are they playing that well? And honestly, I'm very impressed. They held the Dallas Cowboys offense, who, in my opinion, has really good players. Look, I don't think Dak is the best quarterback in the NFL, but I do think Dak is very good. I'd put him in the same discussion that I've always put Derek Carr. He's a very good quarterback that, with a good offensive coordinator, can play great. I think that's exactly what Dak is. So no shade at Dak. Is he Patrick Mahomes? No, but he's still very good. CeeDee Lamb, very good. Brandon Cooks, even for his 400th year in the league, is still a very reliable and solid option in the passing game. And I think Routle, with the backup of Ezekiel Elliott, is a good 1-2 punch. Not to mention they've got a 7-time All-Pro and Zach Martin on the offensive line. They have a good offense. You held that offense to 19 points. You held that offense and took 2 turnovers from them, 3 sacks, forced fumble. This team did really, really well. The only negatives you can really, truly pull, and we will grab some in film study because it is, as I told somebody on Twitter today, if you have a dominant win and you can't find a flaw, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You've always got to find ways to improve, even if you dominate the first 2 weeks of the season. So one thing, special teams, you got a blocked extra point attempt. That's no bueno, especially because it came what almost felt like unblocked through the middle. Got to fix that. Derek Carr, got to work on that with Chris Olave. Little things, but overall, dominant. And there is your run through. Let's go ahead and jump into the comment section and get what these Saints fans who were here think. Shout out to the 250 of y'all who are already present. Love you, appreciate you. Let's dive into it. Let me know what your thoughts are so we can shout them out. Who dat, everybody? Charles says Grannis looked like a fat Barry Sanders on that sack. Man, that is the most backwards, side-eyed compliment I think's ever been given, because you threw out you basically said he's me, but Barry Sanders fused together like his Dragon Ball Z. Really weird fusion. But hey, I'll take it, and honestly, you're not wrong. One thing that, if you remember, I highlighted in the film study that I made y'all watch this past week, and if y'all aren't watching the film studies, you're doing yourself a disservice. I talked about the spin move that Carl Granderson has really been perfecting since last year. Granderson's been in the league a while. He's got the ghost move from Von Miller, very good spin move that we've seen him take that Sheldon Rankins used to be really good at. You've seen Granderson grow, gets him a sack and a half today. That spin move has been lethal, and if you were watching the film study from last week, you would have noted it too. It leads to a very, very key sack here for the New Orleans Saints. Mega Man says that was a heat check by Carr. You're not mad at him? Yeah, look, here's the thing. And this is why I was so big on don't blame Derek Carr last year, blame Pete Carmichael. Because Derek Carr, he needs that guy to help him play at a high level because he's going to have some of those plays. But here's the thing. I said it last week. You don't care if Derek Carr has those when the team is playing so well together. It's okay. It's completely okay. Nobody cares. Last week, he was a little bit behind on a couple of Chris Olave throws. Who cares? You won for about 47. Well, you scored 47. Same thing this week. He throws an interception he shouldn't have. Who cares? You scored 44 in Dallas. Went to Arlington, which, come on. Dallas has got to have a fan base that talks more trash than just about any fan base in the NFL. And if there's anybody who is equally as good, if not better, at choking than the Atlanta Falcons, it's the Dallas Cowboys. Gosh, that felt good. And if y'all didn't see the, locker room quotes and press conferences from some of the Cowboys players leading into this game, it felt like they set themselves up for failure. It felt like the players weren't giving proper respect to the New Orleans Saints. And I might add, they did this all without Marshawn Lattimore, which is absolutely phenomenal. Now, not everything went according to plan this week. For example, you look around the league, Tampa won. Tampa's 2-0. So as excited as you are as a Saints fan, they've got to maintain this. They can't rest on their laurels. You've got to maintain. You win this division. Remember, that's got to be goal number one. Abraham says, great win all around. Honestly, can't think of too many negatives besides Carr being a bit more aggressive than needed. And again, you want to be aggressive, Derek Carr, in the fourth quarter when you've got a 4-score lead. I'm not going to gripe too much. I will critique it in terms of film study. Sure, when we get into the film room, like, look, you can't do this right here. That's okay. You'll take a win of 44 points. And obviously, through 3 quarters, he was statistically perfect, which is part of the reason the New Orleans Saints were up so big. Bob says, skeptical of every, but it was against the Panthers. People were leveling against the Saints. If it wasn't accompanied by, it was against the worst quarterback in the league for people qualifying the Cowboys win. Yeah, look. Several elements. And this is why those who are tuned to the way that we do our podcast here, I'm big on wins aren't a QB stat, and I'm also big on film study over box score scouting. Look, stats are important. It helps us get an idea of how the game was played, but it's always very important to go into the game itself, which is why we put film studies on this channel, and it's why I got so into it and went to the Scouting Academy. Because if you saw how the New Orleans Saints won against Carolina, you knew they were improved. The question was how much. And obviously there is indeed a talent thing, like where you want to be performing at a very high level against better talent, as well as lower talent. We talked about it last year. Those who were in the podcast know how much we talked about how this team would do really well but struggle against playoff teams. I don't care how you feel about Dallas, Jerry Jones, or Dak Prescott. If you deny that the Dallas Cowboys are a playoff team, you're crazy. They've won 12 games each of the past 3 years. They are legitimate, probable playoff contenders this year. And yet New Orleans just beat them by 25 points in their house in a game where every analyst picked the Cowboys to win. I had a business trip in Nashville yesterday and this week, and I was listening to Titans radio talk about doing their picks, how, New Orleans played Carolina, and Dallas is clearly the superior team across the board. Oh, if you looked at the pregame shows, everybody picked Dallas. Sure, and I can understand it. I actually tweeted, to be very fair, while Rev is talking about how great the New Orleans Saints are, I also did tweet in the middle of the game saying, I don't know if the Saints beat the Dallas Cowboys, but I do know. I'm not going to jinx it. If I would have jinxed it, y'all would have been coming at me, and it would have been dangerous. Knives were being thrown. I would have had to be doing matrix pulls, so I didn't jinx them. You're welcome. But at the same time, you cannot watch the New Orleans Saints offense right now and not say this team is not different. And it's not all because of Clint Kubiak, but I did say last year the main thing New Orleans needed was a better offensive play caller. Because when it comes to the talent on the offense, it's almost identical. You have, of course, added in Patrick, who was a journeyman offensive lineman, and you drafted a rookie left tackle, which is fine. But those two alone are not going to take this team to scoring 91 combined points in 2 games. You needed a better offensive play caller. You got it. And I still don't think Clint Kubiak is a top 5 play caller. I'm not going to crown that man after 2 games. But I'm also going to give flowers where they're due, and this team deserves it. And you need people to respect New Orleans, and hopefully they actually get put on people's radar, because if you remember, and again, I'm name dropping myself, and call me what you will, but I said in the film study, remember I showed y'all, everybody putting their power rankings, New Orleans still ranked 23rd, 24th, and everybody said, well, it's the Panthers. They beat the worst team in the NFL. Don't respect them. You better put some respect on New Orleans' name now. You better put respect on them now. And this is why I will always encourage you to follow people, doesn't have to be me, who do film study. Follow the Nick Underhills of the world. Follow the Duke Manyweather, which, by the way, you're curious how Trevor Penning's been doing. He's been doing better. Want to know one of the reasons? Because he finally did what guys like Teron Armstead and Andres Pete and others did to improve their game. He went to go work with Duke Manyweather, who y'all have seen, not only heard on this channel, because we've interviewed Duke Manyweather on this channel, but I've also told you for years what O-line Masterminds has been doing. Trevor Penning worked with the man. I remember asking Duke Manyweather a couple years ago, would that be a thing that happened? Oh, man. And again, not saying Trevor Penning's playing at an all-pro level, but did Micah Parsons get a sack today? Let's go over to the defensive sheet if you're watching the channel. Oh, looky there. He did not against Fuaga or Trevor Penning. Now, does Trevor Penning get help sometimes? Chips, running backs, etc.? Absolutely. But is he playing significantly better than he did? Absolutely. It's good to see that. It's the same thing I told y'all with Cesar Ruiz. Wait to the 3rd year. Never write a guy off in the first 2. Let guys who are raw coming into the league develop. And hopefully Trevor Penning can maintain a success. But all of these things happen for a reason. And it's always fun to find out what the reason is. Sometimes you can find the reason on film. Sometimes you can find the reason in how they do their training regimen. Remember how Alvin Kamara is pulling a Jeep and carrying a freaking squat rack up a hill? Yeah, maybe that has something to do with him having the best contact balance in the league versus the other running backs in the league who are eating Cheetos and just doing squats. Yeah, maybe they should all be like Alvin Kamara, catching tennis balls, balancing on 18 medicine balls. If you want to be the best, you got to find a way to be the best. Right now, the New Orleans are the best, at least in the NFC South. But they're undeniably, statistically, the best offense in the NFL right now. New Orleans actually came into week 2 the best offense in the NFL. No other offense has scored 91 points in 2 games. In fact, if you look around the league, this league has been a much more low-scoring first 2 weeks than what we've seen before. You even see quarterbacks. We're seeing a lot of high-profile, big-name quarterbacks finishing their days with 180, 200 yards passing. Like even the vaulted Aaron Rodgers that everybody's like, oh, he's back. Threw for 176 yards and 2 TDs and a win for the New York Jets of the Tennessee Titans today against a Will Levis who threw for 192 yards. This is actually a season where we've seen statistically teams doing lower numbers. Running backs have definitely been doing better. And yet New Orleans is throwing like the years 2009, and I'm very confused with which quarterback's on the field. Yeah, I said it. That's what offensive play calling can do. It makes everything look really, really good. Milton says, what's his play calling? It's up. We can beat anyone, any given Sunday. And that is the key. Anyone, any given Sunday. And that's all you need this team to be, because I am not telling you that the New Orleans Saints are going to run the table, go 19 or 20-0 and win the Super Bowl. I'm absolutely not saying that. I do believe they will lose. They do have tough opponents in the next couple of weeks. But one thing that you cannot say after 2 games of the New Orleans Saints is they cannot compete and they can't go toe-to-toe with anyone in this league. They absolutely can. I'm not saying they're going to win all their games. In fact, I do think they will lose, and I still don't think they're the best team in the next couple of weeks because they still have things to fix. But my, oh my, you better believe in what you're seeing. Little nitpicky things you want to see improve. The Saints' interior defensive line was not as good against the run defense as you need. You need Colin Saunders to get healthy and come back. The pass rush, you need to see more consistency. 3 sacks when you're leading for 4 quarters is not enough. I hate to hate on what's a positive, but you need to see the defensive line be more consistent because Dak Prescott still threw 70% of his passes complete, right? You need to clean that up. Need to clean it up. That doesn't mean that this team's doing bad. But remember, it's important for teams who are dominating to not get complacent. You want to find the flaws because you need to continually improve. And if improvement means you score 50, fine. But if improvement means that you still won 30-17, that's good. You have to find ways that you can improve. That's what you want to see. You saw it here. Should be very excited if you're a Saints fan. Whoa Now says, also, our new offensive line coach is doing a great job. Pretty impressed so far how good they pass on blocks and get to the next level. Completely agree. And I wanted to point that out this past week when we were doing our film studies, that it's not just Clint Kubiak. You have an entirely new offensive coaching staff essentially across the board, and I feel like they're all doing a really, really good job. Really good job. Corey says, defense did about as well as you can expect against one of the best offenses in the NFL without their best corner. Agreed. Like I know that there was a lot of, if you follow Twitter, and I know Twitter, but you follow things like Twitter and you see what other teams around the league are saying and what their fans are saying, what analysts are saying, a lot of people are just talking about, well, maybe Dallas isn't what we thought they were. Or maybe Dallas is actually good. Truly, maybe Dallas is actually good, and the Saints are also just good. Dallas came into this game the fourth highest point-scoring team in the league. Last year, they were the highest point-scoring team in the league. The year before that, they were fourth. The year before that, they were first. It's not like Dallas is a nobody on offense, right? They've got talented players. It's the Saints defense played really well. The Saints offense played extremely well. You're special when you're scoring 40-plus points in back-to-back games. Just got to hope it continues. Bastille says it's too great of a night to not send Rev Super Chats. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Love from Paris. God bless and who dat. God bless. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the game. Sase Ball. Really appreciate you being here, my friend. And thank you for supporting me and my channel. My family appreciates this as well. Merci beaucoup. How did Brady do calling the game? I think Brady has got a learning curve, but here's the thing. I think that they're going to give Brady a heck of a lot more time to figure it out than they gave Drew Brees. Just is how it is. Appreciate says, I'm shocked by how much Penning is playing better, even with him switching sides. Two things. Better offensive line coaching, working with Duke Manyweather in the offseason. And I will continue to drop Duke Manyweather's name, as I have for about 5 years on this channel, because I truly believe he is the absolute best when it comes to O-line development. There's a reason. In fact, if you didn't know, in this game, of the 10 starters that played offensive line in this game, 9 of them have worked directly with Duke Manyweather. 9 of them. That's crazy. Edwin also says, got to do a deuce. We are NFC contenders as of right now. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's completely okay if you left week 1 going, I'm confident, but I'm still not convinced. That would be completely okay. You better be convinced today that they're contenders. And I'm not telling anybody that the New Orleans Saints are running the table. But if you cannot look at this team and say they're contenders, you're lying to yourself. And if any analyst wants to come out on Monday and blame the Cowboys having a bad day or whatever, if New Orleans does not jump into the top 10 on every leaderboard, every power ranking, analysts are lying to themselves. Until New Orleans proves to you they aren't it, you better believe that board right there that says 44 points. You ever believe it last week when it said 47? The NFL record set in the 60s by the Oakland Raiders, then obviously Raiders have moved several times, was in the first 2 weeks, was scoring 95 points in the first 2 games. That's the NFL record. New Orleans just did 91. That is a record that has stood for 60-plus years, and New Orleans almost broke it. And I'll be honest, if Jameis Winston had been the backup quarterback, he probably would have done it. Maybe he got fired after, who knows? But he probably would have just broke the record for the sake of it. We both know that New Orleans could have broke that record had they chose a record that stood for 60 years. This team is legit. They're for real. Now, will they maintain that? Who knows? But you can enjoy it right now. Now, I said the same thing last week. It doesn't matter who your opponent is. If you score 40 points in the NFL, you're doing something special. By the way, look at the scoreboard at the top of your screen. See any other team that scored 40 points so far this week? No. Oh, look at week 1. See any other team that's scoring 40 points? I'll let y'all take a look real quick. Y'all see any other team that scored 40 points through 2 weeks so far? No? Nobody can spot one? Hey, I'll be fair. Bengals and Chiefs haven't played yet. Texans and Bears haven't played yet. Steelers, Broncos, Falcons, Eagles. Rams, Cardinals game's not over. Maybe it happens. But by the time the Saints finish, they're still the only team that has scored 40 points in the NFL, and oh, they did it twice. So yeah, that's why Rev is talking mad trash in his Discord, telling anybody that said Clint Kubiak's maybe not the guy. Clint Kubiak's maybe not my top choice. He was my top choice for over a year now. And I'm going to walk on that. I'm going to talk mad trash as if I've got my own radio show on local radio. You can just call me FM Rev right now because I'm going to talk mad trash like every other radio analyst because I got my pick right. I'm not going to talk about the ones I got wrong, but I'm going to talk about the ones I got right. I believe that Clint Kubiak was a fit, not because I think Clint Kubiak is the next Shanahan, because I don't. But I do believe that Clint Kubiak fits who's on this offense, just like this offense fits Clint Kubiak. Alvin Kamara is a natural West Coast style running back. Maybe the best West Coast style running back of all time. Obviously a debatable thing. But if you remember years ago, I talked about Alvin Kamara being the next Roger Craig. Old heads will know who I'm talking about. Derek Carr has always been a West Coast quarterback. Always. Needed a high-end offensive coordinator to help him get going, but he's always been a perfect West Coast fit. But what you needed was a modern version, not Pete Carmichael's. Literally, we're not going to move anybody, and we're going to be static the entire time. You have to adapt to what the NFL is doing. Clint Kubiak simply brings a fresh vision. That's it. There's nothing necessarily special about Clint Kubiak that I've seen through 2 games. I'm not saying that to be negative. You have seen some really unique play designs. I actually like seeing Rashid Shaheed lined up as a running back and getting the play to the left side with Taysom Hill being the lead blocker. That's a neat play design. But what I'm saying is I'm not seeing like anything world breaking yet. Maybe we'll see it. But what you are seeing is it's fresh, it's a modern, it's a real West Coast offense. And look how everybody now blossoms. Carr's blossoming. Still not perfect. I mean, but he didn't have to be. He only had to throw the ball 16 times. And to be honest, he didn't even do all that. He chose to do some of that in the fourth quarter. Right? Alvin Kamara had 23 touches. I mean, anyway, back to the chat because y'all are doing great. Mark says Kool-Aid, McKinstry looked good today, stepping in for Lattimore. I completely agree. So what New Orleans did today is when they had 3 corners on the field, Alontae Taylor played in the slot. When they went 2, so like if they went heavy into like a base, they pulled Kool-Aid off, at least in the first half. I have to check and see if they did this in the second half. They pulled Kool-Aid off the field, and it was Alontae Taylor and Paulson Adebo on the outside. When they had 3 corners, it was McKinstry and Adebo starting outside with Alontae Taylor in the slot, clearly showing that they're not confident in McKinstry being the inside guy, but he is talented enough to be on the field, and also speaking to the quality of Alontae Taylor. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right. Charles says, I know it's early, but it kind of feels like 2009. I know it can change, but I'm enjoying this. And that's the thing. Because even last year, did people enjoy watching the New Orleans Saints? That's the biggest difference. And this is why I harped and I told people to listen to me, and nobody does, because everybody thinks they know everything, just like I think I know everything. And I said, the problem with this team is Pete freaking Carmichael. He can be an amazing game planner, but I swear to God, don't even let that man fly into New Orleans anymore, except to celebrate him being an amazing part of a generational football team with the 2009 New Orleans Saints. But don't let that man get near a clipboard. Don't let him walk into Hobby Lobby, Walmart, anywhere where there's a pen or a pencil. Keep that man away from anything that can even write a play on a preach board, but still appreciate what he did for the team. Okay? What this team needed was for Pete Carmichael to get swapped out. Let him go hang out with Sean Payton and game plan. I hope it works really well in Denver. They're playing Pittsburgh right now, right? I hope that he's doing the same thing he did when he was with Sean Payton in New Orleans, which is some type of during the week game planning that he was apparently elite at, according to both Drew Brees and Sean Payton. More success to you. I never wish negative on a person in their life. Secure the bag. Don't ever let that man come anywhere near a Sharpie, a magic marker. I don't even want him to touch a Surface Pro. Nothing. Just let him stand there and look pretty. That's it. Bright Precise says the energy is crazy right now. Well, it happens when you're winning. You get to skull drag people. Godfather, great to see you. And here's how you know this is a real year. Anybody that's followed this team and followed this podcast specifically should recognize Godfather. Listen to the vibes. Not going to lie. Getting 2009 vibes. Getting Kubiak at OC was a game changer. Sorry I've been MIA, dudes. Got 2 big-time promotions past weeks. Congratulations, my friend. Love to hear about success in our community's life. We'll drop in from time to time. Love to hear it, man, and truly glad that things are going well for you. Absolutely, and I hope you're being blessed. Being blessed. Charles says 44-44, and God bless Kubiak put on a clinic against Zimmer. And what's crazy is Sean Payton used to struggle against his best friend Zimmer. Crazy. And again, I'm not giving Kubiak the title of the greatest offensive coordinator in the game through 2 games. But again, you were allowed to be excited. You're allowed to walk into work Monday with your chest puffed out, bragging. And oh my God, I hope there are people in like the Shreveport Bossier area who listen to this show, because I want to hear how much trash you talk when you go into the office, because we all know that East Texas over there, Shreveport Bossier, got plenty of Dallas Cowgirl fans. Yeah, I'm calling them Cowgirls. I'm talking trash. I don't care. Please record your interactions with your coworkers. Look, it's 2024. Put it on TikTok. Do it for the Vine. That's what us old heads would say. Please do. I need the entertainment factor. Remember, 24-hour rule. 24-hour rule. You can talk your trash, but remember, 24 hours. Tuesday, expect a film study. We're going to be serious again. We're going to call out negatives when they're there. We don't do highlights around here. For 24 hours, y'all can celebrate. Have as much fun as you want. You deserve it. You deserve it. Super King Koopa says, let them have it. Love it. Love it. Pecan's right. Appreciate y'all supporting the channel. Means a lot. And I said this last week. I didn't know how much I would do this year, but 2 things have happened. 1, I'm enjoying the heck out of the New Orleans Saints this year. And 2, a lot of people like Charles, Godfather, etc., support the channel financially so I can afford to do all the work. Appreciate y'all who are watching the channel, subscribing, liking, listening to this podcast. Y'all are amazing. T-Rex says, fire Pete Carmichael and hire Clay Kubiak are the greatest move by Mickey Loomis in a long time. I'm bragging tomorrow on my job. Let's beat the she-gals. Nice. Happy for you, T-Rex. Who dat to you, my friend? Who dat to you? The way they were talking, it's over with. I got smoke for all of Dallas-Fort Worth. And you should, because I said this earlier in the podcast, and we're not going to keep y'all too long because I know y'all got a lot of day of fun and the celebrations to go, festivities to be had. But, if y'all listen to any of the player press conferences leading in this game, they did not respect Marshawn Lattimore. They did not respect this team and this offense. They believed they were significantly better. And I know that players should believe in themselves and their team. But they got a lesson today. Never underestimate your opponent. And hopefully every analyst calling Cowherd, who clearly does not even watch the New Orleans Saints, if you listen to his rambles this past week, clearly doesn't even watch the team. Everybody else, you're on notice. You're on notice. You better respect. You better respect what New Orleans is putting together. Bazil says Hyped Up Rev is going to drop about 12 film studies this week. Not 12. I'm going to try to do 3. Right? We'll see how it goes. Depends on how my work schedule is with my gaming stuff, but I'm definitely going to put y'all some film studies this week. Kentrell Hobbs, thank you as well for supporting. And if anybody wants to, remember, it is never required, but if you do want to support the channel, we have PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, etc. If y'all want to support, the more people support, the more people subscribe to the channel, the more we'll do this work, right? And I'll be honest. With my voice going out because I'm so excited. I'll be honest to y'all. This is the most excited I've been about the New Orleans Saints since I professionally covered this team. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy being around this team in 2022 and 2023. I love being around this community. It's amazing. But it feels special when you're having fun. It's not just a job when you're having fun. It's a job, but also amazing. This is the most excited I've been since 2018-ish, right? 2019-ish. This is the most excited I've been since then. And it just feels good. So I appreciate y'all for being a part of that. Now we're going to a couple more comments. We're going to wrap up this podcast. We'll be on iTunes, Google Play, iHeart Radio, Spotify, iTunes again, because that's what most people use. So make sure you share this out with your other Whodats. I am going to potentially do a couple of live streams for the podcast, but I'm focusing on film study and after games. This is what I can guarantee you I'm going to do. I'm going to give you all a show after the game, and I'm going to try to give you at least 2 film studies a week. Because of my work, I cannot guarantee I can do 3 film studies, 3 podcast episodes, but I definitely want to give y'all something, and I definitely want to help y'all see what this team is doing. I'm having an absolute blast. Whoa Now says, Kubiak was the best hire of the year in the NFL. Not just saying that because we won 2 games. It's a system that's tough to stop. Hopefully that remains to be true throughout the rest of the year. Travis says, the Saints are looking dangerous. Don't know if we are staying Super Bowl team just yet. I'm not saying Super Bowl. It's ridiculous to say Super Bowl even if you're 2-0. I don't care if the Saints could have scored 200 points through 2 games, and I wouldn't mention Super Bowl. Why? Win the division first. Then you focus on seeding. Then you actually got to win in the playoffs. Then we can talk about Super Bowl, right? Because if y'all remember, the New Orleans Saints started off 13-0 in 2009. You know what happened? The Saints lost their final 3 games, and everybody out there said, well, they can't win the Super Bowl now. It's never been done, right? They managed to do it, but you never know what's going to happen. New England Patriots go 16-0, undefeated. But then they fall in the Super Bowl, right? So things can happen. The glory, the beauty, the wonder of the NFL is any given Sunday. It's one of my favorite things ever said, ever quoted. I love any given Sunday. I love the fact that we could play the Browns in, what was it, like week 15, and the Browns could whoop our, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I love any given Sunday. I love that the NFL is competitive at every game and every level, right? But you got 24 hours to celebrate this team like they just won the Super Bowl. Completely okay. 24-hour rule. Enjoy. Appreciate all of y'all. Who dat God bless. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share out the podcast to all your friends, families, neighbors, baby mamas, and who dats. I will have some film study out hopefully by Tuesday. Y'all can enjoy. Let me know what you want to see on Twitter. Let me know what you want to see on Facebook, on Discord, wherever you want to get in contact with me. I am available. I've got places all over the place. Everybody who's been around for a while can attest to that. So if you need something, we got you. You just need to let me know who. And one last thing, again, this is completely optional, but if you do want to support the channel, I mention it like once a stream. Got PayPal, Venmo, Cash App links. It's completely optional. If nothing else, all I want you to do is follow the channel and have a great time this year. And that's the goal. Who dat God bless. We'll catch every single one of you. Film studies this week. Every single one of you, and maybe one more podcast episode. We'll see. I couldn't do a second preview this past week because I was out of town. I was in Nashville. But appreciate y'all. Join the Discord if you haven't already. Shout out to our mods. Shout out to those people who support the channel. See ya on the next one. Who dat God bless. Y'all go have fun and celebrate.
An even better outro than the intro for the Empire.
Y'all don't say nothing about me using the wrong intro. I don't hear nothing. That was an accident. No, it didn't happen. You imagined it. Didn't happen at all.